Welcome into a new decade of professional wrestling. Welcome to the new era of the National Wrestling Alliance. Guys, we are entering the 72nd year of the world's longest sanctioning body in professional wrestling. We're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance. We had 3 pay-per-views last year under the NWA banner. Guys, we have an episodic TV NWA Power. Guys, we have a YouTube series called 10 Pounds of Gold that takes wrestling at a more serious and interesting look than anything the other companies have done. But you know what? None of this happens without one man. And no, I'm not talking about Mr. David Lagana, who puts in his heart and soul to everything he does with the National Wrestling Alliance. No, I'm talking about a former 5-time world's heavyweight champion. I'm talking about Scrap Iron, Adam Pearce. Now, you guys are more than familiar with Nick Aldis, Strictly Business, the National Treasure, the Aldis Crusade, Tim Storm, and everything that led up to it with the 10 pounds of gold. But I'm talking about the man who coined the phrase Sweet Charlotte. No, I'm talking about the man who carried the 10 pounds of leather and gold with dignity and class at a time where the NWA was an afterthought. Scrap Iron Adam Pearce held the standard for a world's heavyweight champion as high as any wrestler could. And without Adam Pearce, I don't think the NWA would be around today, certainly not to the level that it is. And so, you guys, the first interview that I'm putting up here from the vault in 2020, Happy New Year, is from 10 years ago. 10 years ago. With the one, the only, the incomparable Scrap Iron, Adam Pearce. Check it out.
The 3-time reigning NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Scrap Daddy. Welcome to Alliance Radio.
Listen to that guitar riffs, brother. How do you think that new tune sounds?
I'm loving it. I'm digging it. And again, we had actually, for the first time, that is the prelude to the budgeting, which is available on iTunes. And that's where you're going to be able to check out Scrap Daddy's newest theme music. And again, available on iTunes, will be heard around the world when Adam Pearce is wrestling and defending the National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, and I want to publicly thank my boys Kid Russell, Matt Jenkins, Junkyard Productions, and the Girth Tones for making it happen. And I love those 70s style guitars, and they really put it down for me. It took about 3 weeks or so, and I just want to thank them for their efforts in bringing some original music to me. It's been a long time.
And it's a good listen, too. And, before we go to some guests that we have some callers already jamming up the phone lines here on Alliance Radio. Champ, welcome back from Canada. How was your trip?
Beautiful. I'm always a big fan of going up to Canada. I think the fans, especially in Winnipeg where I was last weekend, are primed for good wrestling action. They're accustomed to seeing some top talent, and it was exciting to be back up that way.
And speaking of top talent, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Adam spent last weekend in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Is it Manitoba, Winnipeg?
Winnipeg, Manitoba. You got it. Yep.
Okay, great. And he was in Canada defending our National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Championship for Wrestling Fan Experience. And again, that's WFXWrestling.com. You can check them out. We've talked about them on this show from time to time. A lot of, it's kind of ironic that a lot of NWA wrestlers have actually made appearances in the Great Northwest. Speaking of Charlie Haas, like I mentioned earlier, who is now our Texas Heavyweight Champion. Our one half of our tag team champions, Big Keith Walker, has been up there before, and
right.
Well, they finally got it right. They brought you up there for a world title defense, and I think you made an impact in WFX.
Yeah, I was excited to go up there. I think the people that run WFX are onto something, and they've got regional television in the upper Midwest in the United States, and they just landed a deal on the Fight Network in Canada. So they're making steps in the right direction, and they allowed me to stir the pot a little bit, as it were.
Well, and speaking of stirring in the pot, let's go back in the Wayback Machine to 1994. Shane Douglas, after a hard-rolling fight with Too Cold Scorpio for the vacant NWA World Championship, had this to say.
I stand here before God and my Father in heaven tonight, as I said I would be World Heavyweight Champion. In the tradition of Lou Ness, in the tradition of Jack Briscoe, of the Briscoe brothers, of Dory Funk Jr., of Terry Funk, the man who will never die. As the real nature boy, Buddy Rogers, upstairs tonight. From the Harley Races to the Barry Windham to the Ric Flairs. I accept this heavyweight title. Wait a second. I'm Terry Von Erich. I'm the fat man himself, Dusty Rhodes. This is it tonight, Dad. God, that's beautiful. And Rick Steamboat. And they can all kiss my ass.
What in the hell is he doing?
Because I am not the man who accepts the torch to be handed down to me from an organization that died, R.I.P., 7 years ago.
You know what? Cut that off. I don't think anybody wants to listen to that garbage, do they?
Well, I was playing it for the sheer irony, because proclaiming a promotion dead 7 years ago, back in '94, what is that, 87? He's saying in 1987 the NWA passed away, but, even with Vince McMahon's money and ingenuity, he couldn't keep the ECW brand alive. He couldn't keep the ECW brand profitable. Obviously, it didn't work with.
Let's not turn our venom on ECW or whatever incarnation of ECW we want. In fact, let's not turn venom on anything, because I think that history bears out that at that one pivotal moment in time, Shane Douglas had the opportunity to cement his legacy amongst the immortals that have carried the National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Championship, and regardless of whether or not he made the decision on his own, he is the one who put into action the steps that have taken his career from the heights to the toilet. And as I said to him in Winnipeg last week, after I knocked him unconscious with the same 10 pounds of gold that he saw fit to throw in a garbage can many years ago, he had the opportunity to write his name amongst the immortals and instead decided to flush it down the toilet. And I'm only sorry that it took 15 years for somebody to drive that last nail in the coffin. But believe me, I'm extremely gratified that the person able to do it was me.
And I couldn't agree more. As a standard bearer of the National Wrestling Alliance, as the man who's held that title 3 times, as the man who recently superseded the illustrious Nature Boy Buddy Rogers as the 11th longest reigning world champion, I find it only fitting that you got to slap that smirk off the face of Shane Douglas with, like you said, using the legendary 10 pounds of golden leather. And I find it very fitting that in Winnipeg, in a match that featured some some more of those extreme style of wrestlers. That Adam Pearce was the one at the end of the show standing tall.
Well, and you know what? I'll say this for Shane Douglas. He's still got fight in him. I don't think it'll be the last time that I cross paths with Shane Douglas. In fact, I hope it's not. And I look forward to the challenge. Like I said, everybody makes mistakes in their lifetime. Lord knows I'm not perfect, and Lord knows I've got many more mistakes to make before I'm all said and done. But I bet when he looks in the mirror, and stares into his blue eyes, he has one real big mistake that he regrets every day of his life. And that's that.
Undoubtedly so. You got me at a loss for words there, champ. Again, if you guys are listening in, this is Alliance Radio. You're listening to the Scrap Daddy, the NWA World Champion Adam Pearce. The call-in number is 646-478-3019. And I'm going to go ahead and bring on our first caller. This is the caller in the 213 area code. Caller, you're on the air. Hello, caller. Hi, you're on the air. Okay, you're not on the air. Sorry, Adam. We'll put that guy back on hold, and if he wants to hang on, I'll try going to him a little bit later. So that was kind of funny. So over the last few weeks, Adam, as many of the NWA faithful know who check out alliance-wrestling.com, they'll see that your schedule has been nothing short of, well, you're a traveling champion, and I'll say that with the utmost respect, but surely I don't even think that does you justice. Earlier this month, you were in Mexico City. Earlier, you were in Oceanside. You made your way all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. You were in Winnipeg just a few nights ago. 2 nights from tonight, you'll be in Santa Ana. And then a mere 2 days from that, you'll be wrestling in Milwaukee. And then 7 days from that, or 8 days from that, you'll be back here in California. Again, with all these title defenses, a rough month of July, a rough month of August, your schedule doesn't stop, champ.
Well, that's the name of the game, and when you put your name on the dotted line, and I've said this to people inside the wrestling industry and outside of it, when you are in a position like I am to uphold and carry a brand forward, the first thing you need to do is make it accessible to the fans, and I think without question, you could go back probably over the last even 10 years or so, as it pertains to NWA World Heavyweight Champions and traveling, I probably put more miles on my body than anybody else in the last 10 years, and I'm extremely proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, not to besmirch the name of any now rival wrestling promotions, but like you said, I don't believe the title has traveled as much in 10 years as it has in the last couple of years during your reign.
Right.
Your multiple reigns. So you were up at WFX Wrestling, like we were talking about, and besides laying Shane Douglas out, you also defeated a young up-and-comer and a guy who, if you guys go to the WFX Wrestling page, WFXWrestling.com, and check out Wavel Star, he's a young up-and-comer for the promotion. He's a big, powerful guy. And stepped toe-to-toe with Adam, and, of course, you made sure to show him what the NWA was all about.
Well, I want to show him some respect, too. Wavel Star, I mean, you say he's an up-and-comer and a young guy. The fact is he's been wrestling for 13 years, so he's a veteran in a lot of circles. And as you said, a very, very powerful guy and respected in the Canadian wrestling circles and a proud Aboriginal wrestler. I believe he's with the Cree tribe. I couldn't quote me on that. I didn't ask him for sure, but very impressed with him, man. Very impressed with the level of talent that goes through WFX. You know, like you mentioned, guys like Charlie Haas and having 3 former NWA World Champions on the card last Saturday. Myself, Shane Douglas, and Raven. It tells you what kind of talent those promoters up there are looking to showcase to the Canadian talent. I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Right, and I think they're doing a great job of, call it alchemy or whatever science experiment you want to call it, but bringing the best of what's out there in the world and then bringing that to the Canadian market with Canadian wrestlers. I think that's actually kind of inspiring for a wrestling promotion where you see a lot of days these upstart promotions will make sure to get a card that's top heavy with celebrities and superstars from yesteryear, and kind of leave out their the wrestlers that helped create the promotion. And it, from all appearances, it looks like WFX has got it right, where they're going to bring in some of the bigger name free agents who are available to them. But Wavell Star is still on the card, Mr. Pectacular still on the card, and I think that's really good for not only the fans who, you're building the future superstars of that area, but also, giving them a treat, letting them see the Adam Pearces of the world, the Ravens of the world. And I think that is a great sort of mixture to bring on a real exciting wrestling show.
Yeah, and they've got the mix right, and they've got their TV people are interested because they have partnerships with people who aren't mainstream wrestling people, guys from Survivor, right. Rupert, and also Johnny Fairplay, who happened to wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday morning, hammered out of his mind because he thought it was his room. All of a sudden, he's banging on my door, and as soon as I opened the door, I'm like, "Oh, you again." I love Johnny Fairplay, but not at 3 o'clock in the morning. And also they got Jesse Goddard from Big Brother a couple seasons ago, who's now wrestling and looks like $1 million. So, yeah, they're appealing to a broad spectrum, a lot of people within multiple demographics, and we'll see how it goes.
And, I'm pretty sure this wasn't just a one-off show for you. Are there plans for your return back to Winnipeg?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to taking on any and all capacities within WFX that they will afford me. Mike Davidson's the head man up there, and I look forward to working with him. There's already talks about me being back in November and dates going forward into 2011. So as soon as I know anything definitive, I'll let you know.
And you guys you'll find that here at alliance-wrestling.com. Now, WFX is not sanctioned by the National Wrestling Alliance, but considering our world champion is taking an active role in wrestling up north, I only see fit that we give them as much publicity as possible, considering the legendary 10 pounds of gold around the waist of Adam Pearce deserves to be on television, whether it be in Canada or in the Southwest or in the South on the American One Network. You guys definitely want to check that out and look for Adam on the TV near you in the future.
That's right.
Hey, Champ, we're going to try to take another call again. Again, the telephone number is 646-478-3019. This is Alliance Radio. This is Scrap Iron Adam Pearce and J-Cal. Caller from the 213. Let's try you again. Are you on?
Am I on?
You're on.
All right, that's good news. Hey, Champ, glad to be on the phone with you. And, Jay, I appreciate the great show you do here. I'm just curious. You've been doing a lot of independent of the NWA, let's say that, WFX and PCW in Atlanta. Does the thought of a double cross ever enter the back of your head when you are going to these non-sanctioned, non-NWA sanctioned promotions?
No, not in the least. I think it's very simple. I can tell you why. Because I know what I'm doing. And I don't put myself in positions where I would think there might be some kind of goofiness afoot. In fact, I can't remember the last time that's happened on any type of higher profile event, regardless of what the promotion was. So the short answer to that is no. And 9 times out of 10, the promoters that I'm working with, whether or not they're affiliated with the NWA or not, are people that I know or know through someone who I trust. And if that was ever to come to pass, let's say, for instance, somebody got goofy in PCW in Atlanta, there wasn't any shortage of guys in that locker room who I haven't known for 10 or 15 years that wouldn't come to my defense if I couldn't handle it myself. So, no, not at all. I think that's from an era dead and gone.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just saying you've done such a great job building the title back up. I mean, it really is a prestigious title right now that I wondered if some joker from God knows where would try to make a name for himself by doing that. And I know that
I wish somebody would.
Yeah. Make it interesting.
That'd be great.
I think that'd be a bad career choice.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate the time. I'll just continue to listen off the line.
Hey, great. Hey, before you go, real quick, how did you hear about Alliance Radio?
Long-time listener,
Awesome. Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in.
Take care. God bless.
That's awesome. Yeah. Absolutely. And if you're still listening, and thank you for your patronage and listening to Alliance Radio again. This show wouldn't be nearly as fun without as many callers as we can get. So thanks again for calling in. And supporting the NWA. Don't want to leave that out. Again, the National Wrestling Alliance, especially in the Los Angeles market, has, it's taken a turn for the better, if you ask me. About 2 weeks ago, we were introduced to the National Wrestling Alliance on KDOC Channel 56 in the local market. Again, it's available to NWA wrestling fans across the world on NWAHollywood.com. And, the first show was a feature on the past of the National Wrestling Alliance. And I don't know about you, Champ, but I saw a lot of familiar faces that, it got me excited about pro wrestling in the first place. And seeing it again on a 1 hour special on KDOC was certainly kind of heartwarming to the wrestling fan inside. And then 1 week later, we get David Marquez, who's, if you're listening, Dave, quit stealing my bit. Adam Pearce is my guest. I don't appreciate it. I don't, if you're going to do that, send me a royalty check. He did a 1 hour with Adam Pearce on KDOC, which it was very interesting. That there were two conflicting shows. If you watched it live on KDOC Channel 56, you saw a little bit more wrestling. If you saw the original unedited version on KDOC, I'm sorry, on NWAHollywood.com, you got a lot more background on the Champ. For someone like me, Scrap Daddy, who's known you as long as I have, and I look to you and call you a friend, and we've shared a beer, and we've dined on delicious meals. It's nothing new for me, but I think it gave the introduction to Adam Pearce and what the current NWA is all about to, again, the Los Angeles market. How did that show for you, anyways? How was that sitting in the hot seat with David Marquez, and did you enjoy your time being interviewed by old Gucci glasses?
Yeah, just personally for me, I felt really blessed and humbled to even be in the position that I'm in, to have gone to KDOC-TV at their studios and sat down with Dave for a number of hours and just kind of talked about a variety of subjects that were then edited down into an hour, and then for the local market on broadcast, edited down even a little bit more than that to fit some action on the show. And I was happy that Dave was able to put his original vision, or as you called it, original virgin, on the NWA Hollywood website. Nothing wrong with virgins. That said, I thought it was good for a variety of standpoints. And the idea behind the first two specials was actually suggested by management at KDOC, who of course are in the position, like many local television stations are across the country, that lost WWE SmackDown on Friday nights to the cable audience. And in every major market, you've got a segment of people who, for whatever reason, choose not to have cable. And for those people, there was going to be a couple of week period of time that, obviously now going forward even further, that they're not going to have the wrestling that they're used to. So they wanted to put on a couple specials to kind of indoctrinate the audience and that are used to watching the channel at a certain hour, looking for a certain product, into what was going to be coming on. And I was happy and, like I said, humbled to be one of the first two specials on there. And now we're off and running with matches. So it's so far so good. The ratings have been coming in and have been surpassing what KDOC was expecting, and that can only bring good things for the future.
Right, and I jest about David Marquez. I actually really respect him as well, and I've talked to him.
Don't put Marquez over. Don't put him over too much. It'll go right to his head.
Not too much, but I have talked to him about the progression of the show, and again, I couldn't be happier with it. As a wrestling fan since the age of 5, it's definitely I enjoy it. It's a good wrestling show. It's not like what was said on one of the interviews was it's not a throwback show. I mean, we're not seeing guys use headlocks for 15 minutes. It's a fast-paced wrestling show. I was at the TV tapings as you saw, Adam, and it was a great show. And when I watched it live on KDOC, it was a great show, and I've streamed it on the internet afterwards, and just to see some extra things that maybe I might have missed, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. You had the fans in Hollywood eating out of the palm of your hand, and again, it was a great time. And well, let me just play a little bit of this before we talk about the upcoming show.
Sure.
guys heard that that was the introduction to NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and again, it was a great show. That in the first week's episode, we got to hear the champ, and next week you're scheduled to wrestle against Scorpio Sky, a match that many have anticipated since back in June during the NWA Showcase tapings, and you put over Scorpio Sky saying that he's a gifted athlete, that he would excel in any sport, and he goes one-on-one with you in the ring on this Friday night at 8 p.m. on KDOC Channel 56.
That's right. And I meant what I said. I think Sky, from an athletic standpoint, would be successful regardless of what the sport is. In fact, I think, and I can't remember where I saw this, but this is a guy who runs a sub 4.40. It was a great track star early in his high school career, and an accomplished basketball player too. So I think there's absolutely no shortage of athleticism in Scorpio Sky, and as viewers will see Friday night coming up here on KDOC, and then afterwards at NWAHollywood.com, he gives me a run for my money.
Right, and in the show, the TV show will air on Friday at 8 p.m., but also if you're in the Southern California, LA, greater LA area, you definitely want to check out the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood taping at what I like to call the Mecca of Southern California pro wrestling, the Galaxy Theater. No place that is unfamiliar to you, Champ. You've wrestled there many of years through different organizations, and I find it only fitting that when you returned, you got a hero's welcome while brandishing the 10 pounds of leather and gold. What are your memories? Sorry,
Galaxy is that's okay. Don't worry. We can step on each other's toes all night. That's fine. The Galaxy Theater. I mean, when you look at the roster of wrestlers that have come through that building over the last 10 years or so, I mean, in practically you name it, guys that are on TV every Monday night, John Cena, The Miz, people I've wrestled personally, come through there, and the cast of characters is unmatched. Of course, UPW was a WWE affiliate and a developmental program, back in the early part of the decade, and many of us in the Southern California area were fortunate enough to work for Rick Bassman and in that operation, and myself included, obviously. I just moved to Southern California from Chicago, and Kevin Kelly, who was working at the WWF at that point, hooked me up with Bassman, and the rest is history. So I wrestled, God, I don't even know how many times in that building, and it's like you said, it's only fitting that that's where they would tape the television show here for NWA Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and we're looking forward to it Wednesday night, another great TV taping down there at the Galaxy.
And again, when you guys are here, you're listening to the show locally, general admission's only $15 to get in, and like I read elsewhere, you can't get into Disneyland that cheap. You can't even see a movie for that cheap, and it's a great night of wrestling. And again, these are TV tapings, so it's a little bit longer than a traditional show. You're going to get about 4 hours worth of action, a lot of great wrestling, and I definitely recommend anyone who is in the greater LA area, Orange County, Inland Empire, make sure you get out to the show, because again, these are the champions right here. These are the premier athletes of Southern California, of the world, and National Wrestling Alliance Championship Wrestling from Hollywood again is it's on for us. So this is our market. This is our show. You guys got to get out there and support it. Before we get to your opponent for Wednesday night, let's talk more about how you're globetrotting earlier this month. Like I said, you made stops in Oceanside and Atlanta, but before the month got before September got very old, you were already wrestling in Mexico against none other than Boom Boom Colt Cabana, and in a non-title match, which Bless the Stars, that wasn't an NWA sanctioned match. You lost to Colt Cabana. Mexico hasn't been kind to you, champ.
Well, I mean, some would say that Mexico hasn't been kind to anybody, including itself. I mean, if you look at the unemployment rates down there and the poverty and, of course, the drug lords and the crime and the murders and everything else, I don't know that anybody really goes to Mexico and comes up with anything positive. You know what I mean? So to go back down there and to find myself wrestling Colt Cabana in front of a raucous Mexican crowd didn't do me very well. And like you said, thankfully, the championship was not at stake. Unfortunately for me, as I'm often fond of saying, every dog has its day, and rough, Cabana got a win. Big deal.
Unfortunately, though, that throwaway victory in Mexico caught the attention of the NWA promoters here in Southern California, and now you're scheduled to take on one-on-one for the National Wrestling Alliance World Championship at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Well, you're scheduled to defend against Colt Boom Boom Cabana.
Yeah, but see, now we're on equal footing because we're back here in a comfort zone for me, and Cabana is going to travel across the country and find himself in the danger zone. You know what I'm saying? And this match for me is somewhat different than the majority of my title defenses in that I'm wrestling someone who I've known since his very first minute in a wrestling ring, and someone that our history even goes back further than that. Cabana and I went to rival high schools in Northern Illinois and played each other in football every year. And just like Waukegan High School kicked Deerfield High School's ass every single year in football, I plan on doing the same thing to Colt Cabana on Wednesday night.
Well, and it's interesting you bring up the long storied history you two share, because it wasn't that long ago, and the fans got to see that on the 1 hour special on KDOC. You wrestled Joey Ryan, somebody who you kind of you kind of helped get into that next level where when you were the world's champion and Joey and Carl the Machine Gun Anderson were the tag team champions, you guys were certainly running buddies and certainly running the NWA. And everyone saw what happened in Oceanside when you pinned Joey 1-2-3. And this is kind of a similar story. You and Colt have teamed together in the past. You've been on the same side of the ring. You've been on the opposite sides of the ring. And there's very few wrestlers who, will come out and admit to their opponent and to the fans reading, the blogs and the websites and the videos. And Colt Cabana, he attributes you to as being a mentor to him.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I'm blessed to have him say that. And knowing that, he should be smart enough to know that just because I taught him everything that, I dare say everything, but just because I taught him a large amount of what he knows doesn't mean that I taught him a large amount of what I know. And like I said, when I look at Cabana, I'm looking at him, and he's wearing a red Deerfield Warriors jersey, and I'm wearing purple, green, and gold of Waukegan Bulldogs with a number 74 on my chest, and I'm going to run his ass over. It's that simple. Colt Cabana's a world traveler. He is an absolutely qualified professional wrestler. I will never take that away from him. But on Wednesday night in Santa Ana at the Galaxy Theater, he's in my house. And everybody knows you take off your shoes when you enter my house. And I'm going to take his shoes off and then shove him up his ass.
Again, you guys are listening to Alliance Radio. Again, if you'd like to call in, the telephone number is 646-478-3019. Champ, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to bring on another caller.
Sure.
Caller from the 817, you're on.
Hey, Joe and Champ.
Hey, it's DK.
This DKM again.
Welcome back to the show.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I wanted to call because, last time he was on, he was getting ready to come here to Texas, and I was fortunate enough to go see that show, and so I can now say honestly, firsthand experience, that he is one awesome competitor in the ring. I've seen his work in person, and wow. Just to tell you how good he is, a person I took with me, he's not necessarily a wrestling fan. They just agreed to go with me for company, and they really enjoyed the show altogether, and they really enjoyed watching the champ wrestle.
I appreciate it. What's DKM stand for? Let me ask you that.
They're my initials.
Okay. What do they stand for? I want to know. You know my name.
Stands for Devin Kent Mercer. There you go.
There you go. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Mercer.
Pleasure to meet you. But I do sign all papers, DKM. So what I'm wondering about here, and I'll apologize that I did miss the first 20 minutes of the show, but what I'm wondering about is, you're moving up the ranks as one of the longest reigning champions when you combine your 3 reigns, and you're traveling all across the country. And I'm just, I asked you once in the past, when you won the title for the third time, what was it like? What went through your head? And I mean,
right.
I'm wondering, do you understand? What are you feeling now that you really are starting to enter this truly almost great status as an NWA champion? I mean, when I look back from when the NWA split with WCW, and this includes its time with TNA, I mean,
right.
if I were to make a list of great champions, Adam Pearce would probably, be on the top.
I appreciate that.
So I mean, I'm wondering how you feel. Cause, I mean, how many world champions in wrestling, and we all know there's one in every organization, but, travel across the country like this? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, here I am. I'm not ashamed to say I'm 32 years old, and I'm getting my 16th year in this business. So for all intents, I've spent half my life in pursuit of what I love, and I'm very proud of that, to be able to, first of all, make a living in the profession that you grow up dreaming about, but then to be chosen and be lucky enough to be recognized as a champion, not once, but 3 times over for what amounts, in my opinion, to the greatest, single greatest and most prestigious championship in the history of our business in this country, is extremely humbling. And I appreciate the opportunities that the NWA has afforded me over the last several years, and I look forward to that relationship continuing here in 2011 and going forward. And I know that I'll be working with the NWA as long as I continue to wrestle, and I haven't put a time frame on how long that'll be. I don't know that I don't know that you'd find many people arguing. I think right now I'm in the prime of my career, and I'm very excited to see what things take place going forward with the NWA and abroad. So just very humbled and very happy, and in a place in the position where I'm at that I think it's things like this people will never be able to take away from you. And it's very, very heartwarming to be respected by your peers and the people that you work for. And hard work really does pay off.
Well, it certainly does, and I'm certainly looking forward to the next time you can make it here to Texas.
I appreciate it, and next time I'm down there, and people may know this now, but I don't think anyone knew this then. I was when I wrestled Charlie Haas that night, I had torn my rotator cuff a week before. I had little strength, if any, in my right arm in that match, and I don't know if you noticed, I didn't pick Charlie up one time in that match because I couldn't. So next time I'll be able to do a little bit better for you.
Well, honestly, I didn't notice, and I think that says what a talent you are, because, I mean, we knew that you were coming off the, being hit by the Sheik and everything like that, and that was played into it. But, I certainly couldn't tell that you'd been injured, and people I talked to were there. No one ever said, well, gee, he seemed to be lacking something. So, I just think that speaks to your talent.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, DK.
Thank you all.
God bless you. Take care.
Absolutely. And, again, speaking of that, I wasn't even aware that you had torn your rotator cuff before the match. You had a series of very tough defenses leading up into that match with Charlie Haas. And, again, you still walked away with the title. DK brought it up. I was going to kind of leave it alone, but the championship belt to the back of the chair, to the back of the head in Charlotte. A lot of people have already at length discussed it. You were out for 10 minutes. You brought it up on the 1 hour special. It was a scary moment when I saw the replay and saw the lump on your head. I had concerns for you and your family, and I'm glad everything worked out. And I'm glad that, as you say, all the marbles were spinning in the right direction. But what was going through your mind when you woke up? And, we saw in the video, obviously, you didn't look happy, and nor would anyone else look happy after getting their lights knocked out.
No.
What would you like to say to that?
Well, I mean, things happen, and the unfortunate part of this is there's a man out there who thinks that he is, that he landed the shot heard around the world, or at least, the shot heard around the NWA. And the sad reality is it's just an example, a perfect example of someone who's got their own interest in mind and don't care about anything else. And, of course, I'm talking about the Sheik, who decided that it was an opportune moment to try and make a name for himself at my expense. And sure, he turned the lights out and racked me up upside the head behind my left ear with a chair and put me out. And I'm not ashamed to say that he put me out. Obviously, if you saw the footage or if you were there in attendance in Charlotte, you know, when was the last time anybody in the audience been hit in the back of the head with a chair blind? You know, you got two choices. You're going to fall forward or you're going to fall backwards, but you're going to fall.
Right.
And fall I did. And, you know, everything gets turned out. The next thing I remember is looking up and seeing the beautiful faces of Les Thatcher and Tully Blanchard staring down at me, and I'm asking what the hell's going on. So, as dumb as I was, I tried to get in the ring and have a match with Phil Shatter after that, and that didn't turn out so well, but you know, all hell kind of broke loose from that point, and here comes the Sheik rearing his ugly head again, and he's lucky he ran away when he did because I was fixing to tear his face off. But, you know, I think ultimately that backfires for him because here's someone thinking they're playing the ultimate power trip. They've got the politics the way they want them. They can strike a chord and kind of light a fire under everybody and get his name put in the pecking order, as it were. And now that I look back here, we're, you know, I don't know, 2 months or so, or just about 2 months removed from that. Not one promoter in the National Wrestling Alliance has contacted me wanting to sanction that bout, and I wonder why that is. I wonder if that play by the Sheik to try and get him in a position that he could strike for the world's title hasn't backfired, because I'm certainly not hearing anyone banging down the doors, as it were, to sign that match. And here I am.
And you bring up a valid point. You know, when you look at the NWA top 10, well, let's look at the PWI top 10. You know, still in the top 10, Adam Pearce, and, you know, again, I don't know what's going on over at the offices over at Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWIonline.com, if you guys want to send them a letter or something. But Adam Pearce ranked number 9. Now, it's great to see in the top 10, but, you know, if you're not number 1, 2, or 3, it's almost it's a crime against the wrestling gods, that's for sure. And when you look at the top 10 of the NWA, again, the man in the pecking order, the Sheik is ranked number 1, right behind you, and then of course Phil Shatter, and you go further down the list, you see some familiar names: Blue Demon Jr., Charlie Haas, Oliver John, returning face Chance Prophet. Again, it seems like every other day there's someone out there challenging you for a title match. Again, if you're watching Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, you hear Colt Boom Boom Cabana makes the challenge. You'll hear Joey Ryan make the challenge. You'll hear Scorpio Sky make the challenge. The Sheik made the challenge. Phil Shatter is challenging. You have Charlie Haas challenging. In fact, it's gotten so bad in NWA Southwest that Charlie Haas, the Texas champion, has challenged Phil Shatter so that he can climb into that higher pecking order to meet you again, champ. And I guess the question I'm asking you is, with all these defenses that you're lining up, you're finding new places to go, you're finding new faces to feature, because let's be honest, when someone steps into the ring with you, their profile automatically takes another step up. When they're in an NWA-sanctioned World Championship bout, their stock rises a little bit. And now we see, you know, everybody's trying to get on board that scrap daddy money train, trying to get that big payday, to make that big visit to the pay window. And, you know, you discussed it, you're 32 years old, you're in the prime of your career, and outside of a little rotator cuff issue, you're wrestling like the champ that you've been for the past, you know, 3 title reigns. Is this catching up to you, champ? Is at some point, is it going to be too much, or do you welcome these new challenges, these daily videos of Chance Prophet challenging you, the Sheik challenging you, Charlie Haas, Phil Shatter, you know, everyone under the NWA banner gunning for you? Adam, are you there? Oh, looks like we lost Adam.
You there?
Oh, sorry about that, champ.
You gotta love technology.
Yes. Did you hear half of what I said? Did you hear any of what I said?
The last thing I heard you say, you were talking about the list of faces and people's stock rising, et cetera, and then I heard nothing.
Oh, sorry about that, Champ.
That's okay.
Glad you got back on. To sum it up short, and I'll be as least long-winded as I can, there's a new challenger on the horizon every day for the NWA World Champion, and everybody throughout the NWA has got a wanted poster with your name on it and that legendary 10 pounds of golden leather. How does that feel, and knowing that every day, every territory you walk into, you're the most wanted man?
Well, I mean, I think it's par for the course. You know, ultimately, when you find yourself at the top of the mountain, everyone else is climbing up trying to reach that same height. So the fortunate thing for me is I've got the point of advantage because I have, you know, I'm on higher ground, as it were. So it's par for the course, J. Cal. It's with the territory. It's part of the job description, and honestly, it's something that I love about the position because you are every single night you step in the ring challenged by people who are hungry, that want to take that next step in their careers and cement their legacy and get their name etched amongst the immortals, as I like to call it. And you know, very few people on this planet can say that they are in that respected and very selective fraternity. And I would have it no other way. I look forward to it. I relish the challenge. I'm a competitive person, and every day is a winding road. You know what I mean? And when you get the bullseye in your chest, it leads right to you.
Right. Well, earlier I had mentioned, you know, when you speak of the world champion, when you speak of excellence in pro wrestling, you know, it's hard not to imagine the legendary 10 pounds of gold, leather and gold strapped around your waist, and the AP logo. And I think some of our listeners might get a kick out of this next little audio I'd like to play. So if you could stand by and take a listen here. This is part of Adam Pearce's new theme music that is called Prelude to the Bludgeoning. Well, I don't know if that came out too good. It was kind of quiet, but again, you guys got to check out the Prelude to the Bludgeoning. Again, it's on iTunes. There's a great section where Adam Pearce cuts a promo right in the middle of the song, and one of the funniest promos I've ever heard from the Scrap Daddy, and certainly one of the most compelling reasons to check this song out, aside from its kick-ass 70s style guitar music, and it is the theme music for the NWA World Champion.
I'll tell you a funny story about that clip that's played there in the bridge for the song. It is taken from a promo that somehow found itself on the YouTube, where I am proclaiming myself a Texas Ranger. You know, Pearce, Texas Ranger, roaming the Badlands with Chuck Norris, etc.
Right.
I'm half embarrassed when people always like to bring that up to me, and they tell me how funny that is. And funny enough, it's almost embarrassing for me because I was completely 100% pissed drunk when I did that. And that's completely it's true, but it's completely unprofessional. So people say that they love that, and quite honestly, I don't even remember doing it. So, wow. I mean, and I look at it, and I've seen it online, and I'm like, what in the hell am I wearing? I'm wearing a John Elway football jersey, which I've never owned a John Elway football jersey, so I have no concept or clue where I got that. I'm wearing a purple fake snakeskin leather jacket, which I gave to Shane Hagedorn in Ring of Honor a couple years ago, and a Texas Ranger hat, a legit Texas Ranger Stetson, which I have no idea where I got. And so it's embarrassing. I certainly wouldn't show that to a prospective date. Let me put it that way.
Absolutely. Well, good thing the Champ's married and doesn't have to worry about such things.
Absolutely.
Hey, if you guys,
and my wife has seen it, and she's embarrassed probably worse than I am.
Well, in that case, you all should go to YouTube and just go ahead and type in Adam Pearce, Texas Ranger, and get a good gander, because it's certainly one of the funniest things that I've seen in the world of professional wrestling, and certainly worth watching. Hey, if you guys want to follow what Adam is doing, you know, he's posting updates from shows, and he's you know, kind of giving you updates what's going on in the world of the National Wrestling Alliance, along with his career. Check out him on Twitter. He recently made it to the Twitterverse, and that's going to be twitter.com/ScrapDaddyAP. We don't expect to find you on Facebook anytime, but believe it or not, there's some sort of Adam Pearce Facebook page. I don't know if the fan made it or if that's David Marquez ribbing you, but it's not like a profile page, but it's like a compilation of. If I were to go on Facebook and type Adam Pearce, it would show up on this page. So it's kind of interesting because Alliance Wrestling has a Facebook page, and every time we update the website, the Facebook page gets updated, and we cover the World Champion quite thoroughly. So we've had a lot of additions to this Facebook. I don't even know what to call it, like some sort of. You ever get a chance, Adam? If you have one of your friends who might be on Facebook, you ought to check it out. It's kind of interesting because I know it's not you. But
yeah, I've never had. Actually, I take that back. I had a Facebook page probably a couple of years ago, and it got me in a boatload of trouble. More than anything, because I don't know how to use that stuff. I'm not exactly the most computer literate guy. I have a hard enough time handling the Twitter, it took me. It took several people, namely David Lagana, one of our producers, who worked with me both at Ring of Honor and now on NWA Hollywood. I don't know, a couple of years for him to convince me that it was important that I should have this Twitter. And I guess it's fun, but that's just not, that's not me. So there's a Facebook out there, huh?
Yeah, and like I said, it's not anyone pretending to be you. It's not anyone, trying to take your online community and your fame, but it's just a page that has updates. Anytime someone mentions Adam Pearce, boom, it's right there.
Interesting.
So kind of interesting. Yeah. Well, and then also, and I don't know much about this, but I saw it on your Twitter page, so I figured I'd share it with everyone. If you guys are using Spiffbox, check that out. Adam Pearce is on Spiffbox as well.
Yeah, Spiffbox. Now, this is something. Spiffbox is something I know even less about. But what I do know about it is when people interact with me through Spiffbox, I make money. So that's a beautiful thing. I want to thank Christopher Daniels for hooking me up with the fine people at Spiffbox. And essentially what it is a platform for people to, much like you and I are doing an interview right now, if I was smart, I would make you go through Spiffbox and then I would get paid. But I'm not smart, so I'm doing it for free because I love you.
And the love is, we take the family to come see Adam Pearce, just like all of you guys should, and it's a great time. And again, you guys ought to check out Spiffbox because again, there's only one NWA World Champion. There's only one Scrap Daddy, Adam Pearce, and why not interact with the champ on another level and throw him a few bucks while you're doing that.
Yeah, funny enough, Adam, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, funny enough, the last interview they had at Spiffbox had very little to even do with wrestling. I put on there that I was a plumber's apprentice when I was younger, which is true, and somebody was asking me questions about plumbing, and that's hilarious to me because I haven't done plumbing since 1993, 94, I don't even remember. I was in high school. But so, yeah, I made a couple bucks answering questions about plumbing.
Well, so there you go for all your plumbing advice and your World Championship matches. Again, Adam Pearce is your guy, not Jack Steffen, Adam Pearce. So
I lay pipe, brother.
Absolutely. Hey, I really appreciate the time, and again, we're looking forward to seeing you again on the TV this week, and everyone who's out there listening, NWAHollywood.com to watch it online, or if you're in the LA market, just turn on Channel 56. It's on most of your cable company providers and satellite and Dish, and it's not like Fox and all those channels getting pulled by Dish. You could still see KDOC Channel 56 if you have Dish, and you can see Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce. Again, I can't thank you enough for the time. There's so many things that we could still talk about, like your upcoming defenses with Silius Young in Milwaukee, with Willie Mack in Rialto. But we'll have to get to those another time. But I greatly appreciate you coming on.
Did I lose you again?
I think so. Hey, we have one more caller, and caller just hung up. Never mind. Well, again, thank you for coming on the show today, Adam, and greatly appreciate it, and look forward to seeing your upcoming defenses real soon.
I appreciate it very much. Look forward to seeing everybody in the LA market on Wednesday night at the next NWA Hollywood tapings. And like you mentioned, KDOC Friday nights at 8 o'clock. And if you can't get that one, it replays Saturday nights at 11 p.m. with internet replay on NWAHollywood.com. And I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Thanks a lot, Champ. And we will certainly be talking here in the near future.
Thanks, Jay. Take care, man.
Hey, you too. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Again, that was Adam Pearce. If you need him or if you need a plumber, we appreciate Adam calling in. Again, the website is alliance-wrestling.com. We certainly want you guys to come check it out. We have a message board. This show is a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We're blogging about the entire NWA. So thanks for tuning in, and make sure you check out the website. And again, look at Spiffbox. Go search Spiffbox. That's SPIFF box.com, and search for Adam Pearce, and he'll tell you how to lay some pipe. Well, you've been tuning in to Alliance Radio. I'm Jay Cal. Thank you for your listenership, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good